Hello everyone, this is Bradley Sward, and this video today is the 2022 Advent of Code solution for part 1 of day 13, the problem otherwise known as distress signal. So in this case, we get a bunch of data and a bunch of lists, and it could be lists inside of lists, all sorts of recursiveness going on here. And we just have to make sure that the top of the two lists is basically less than the one on the bottom. And there are, again, a bunch of rules here. You're testing integer versus integer. So like in this case, this is correct because once we get to this position, this 3 is less than this 5. So yes, this is a good one. But it gets a little more complicated when you have lists versus lists. And then if you also have like lists versus integer numbers. So that's what the rules here. You guys probably know that if you're kind of going through that. You just want to see the code, or for other reason you're here. So my code, I commented out the things that get me to print out everything exactly as you see it. Maybe not with the indentations, but you get it exactly as you see it. Let's take that. Here's the full code and all the code. So I'm importing JSON because I'm doing this in Python. So all of that hard work of interpreting this data is done just by using the loads function, loads function. Loads or loads? Probably load string. And so it takes that string and condenses it into the list structure that it needs to, and appends that in the list. And instead of top and bottom, I'm just kind of having a left and a right. So I'm saying left-hand side, right-hand side, and it just processes the data. So now I have this as 150 lists of lists, so however you want to think about it. And now it's time to try out every one of them. And remember that the whole point of this is to test out and print out and add up the index values of the values where it's out of place. I think it's out of place. No, when the ones that are correct. Let me go back. Let me make sure. I confused myself in the process here. Which problem is? Let's see. So my answer here is 6086. But you see, what is the sum of the indexes that are in the right order? So yes, okay, I lost track of the problem by trying to solve it. Who knew that happens with software developers sometimes? So anyway, so coming back here, so now for every one of these items, basically if this thing comes back true or none, and I haven't tried this just to make sure, because actually, see, I get the answer of 6046 or whatever, or 6086. What happens if I get rid of this now that I've played with it a little bit here? Let me see, do I get still 6000? I still get my answer, yeah, because I was supposed to, because I finally fixed everything up properly. Okay, so coming back to the rules, just to say, if I'm comparing the left-hand side versus the right-hand side and they're two integer values, I do a check to see, what's what here. And if it's less than the other, then you're good. If it's greater than the other, then it's not good. But otherwise, we got to continue on, and basically say there's got to be more to this. Okay, so that's how you handle integer versus integer. If you handle list versus list, you basically are checking to see element for element until you hit the end of one of the lists. Is there a value that is less than or greater than the other? And if so, get out. However that works out here, that's what it calls, and it just reduces down because this is all recursive, item for item. So if you fall through and you finally get out of this thing, the thing that could be is that they're the same size, and if so, then we still got to continue on. Otherwise, we got to return true because then we know that the left-hand side got exhausted, and here is where the right-hand side would get exhausted. And so that's how you would handle list versus list. But otherwise, if it's not any of these two cases, then you know that it's list versus integer, and we just got to call with the right order, and we got to turn the integer into a list to do the recursive work to get the job done. So when you do that, you see here you get an answer of 6086, and in this case, it only prints out the values for the ones that end up being true, and it doesn't show you the ones that are false. But all I would have to do is move the print statement above the if statement here to get that thing to work. So that pretty much covers part 1. I haven't even looked at part 2 yet, so maybe it'll be an easy fix. Maybe it won't, but we'll see how that goes. But that'll be for another video another time. So as always, thanks for sticking it out with me, those of you who watch or are viewing these videos. Thanks for everything you do. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you later.